Jameis Winston reportedly named the starter for week one. We expected this in a lot of ways, but now it's, again, semi-official, if you will. Was this the right move by the Saints?
I don't think there's any doubt. Jameis was great on Monday night in that preseason game and is obviously a better option than Taysom Hill. So he never had to be outstanding to earn the job. He just had to be better than Taysom Hill, and he has been and he is. But that said, I am kind of excited about Jameis Winston in New Orleans. He only threw 11 balls last season while backing up Drew Brees. So this is really going to be the first time he's played for Sean Payton and the first time he's played since getting LASIK surgery to fix his blurry vision. He's made some really great throws this preseason. He might be terrific. So I'm not ruling out the idea that Jameis Winston, can be something more than just an average NFL quarterback working with Sean Payton in New Orleans. And it's certainly one of the more interesting developments in the NFL, considering he's a former Heisman Trophy winner and number one overall pick who is still just 27 years old.
This is the next step in what was described as a possible rehabilitation for Jameis Winston, the former number one pick, and the opportunity is there. And I think it makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels because Taysom Hill can now still utilize what has become a really valuable role with this Saints team. And I agree with you on a number of your points about where Jameis is and what he learned from being on the sideline a year ago behind Drew Brees and the talent that is there. But I do think this is going to be a grind for this Saints offense, having seen them in person a few weeks ago, albeit in the preseason here in Baltimore, and just the lack of weapons they have with the Michael Thomas injury. The Dak is going to be stacked against Jameis to some degree, but he does have Sean Payton in his ear, and that'll help him in a lot of ways. The Pittsburgh Steelers in action tonight, but no Ben Roethlisberger in the final preseason game. But he has made some progress, according to his new offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, in building that all-important chemistry as they head into the season. It's a rarity, but the Steelers, in my opinion, flying a bit under the radar in the AFC North behind both Baltimore and Cleveland. But the microscope will be on Ben Roethlisberger and that relationship with Matt Canada, what that offense can do this year after they fizzled out at the tail end of last season. What are your expectations for the Steelers offense and maybe this team as a whole?
Great. I think I'm lower than most probably. I have the Steelers finishing third in the AFC North behind the Ravens and the Browns. And I know they won 12 games last season, but I don't think they'll sniff that this season. Something like 9-7 or even 8-8 seems about right. And a lot of that is tied to the idea that I just don't think Ben Roethlisberger can play at a high level anymore. He's 39 years old, and it's not a young 39, a Tom Brady 39, or even a Tom Brady 44. I'd be happy to be wrong. The NFL is more fun when the Steelers are relevant and interesting. But I don't even think that it's guaranteed that you're going to see them even secure a wild card. We could be watching an AFC playoffs, and Pittsburgh's just not involved.
If you're telling me that Ben Roethlisberger has to do heroic things for this team to achieve its goals, then I would agree with you. But they're not going to ask him to do that. A big part of this Matt Canada offense and the approach here this year is to have Ben facilitate things, but lean on a running game that's going to be led by a rookie, Najee Harris, and throw when necessary. Until I see it, I won't believe it, but I do know that's the plan, according to Mike Tomlin, everyone out of Pittsburgh. And they also have an elite defense to lean on. So expectations on my end are that this team could still be a playoff team. There could be three coming out of the AFC North, which we've seen a number of times over the last decade. Now in the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers still reshaping that organization under Matt Rule. They have Sam Darnold, who they brought in, obviously started his career with the New York Jets. He's also got a new coordinator, a young coordinator in Joe Brady that he's been working with. And Brady thinks their connection is started off on the right foot. Tampa gets the headlines for this division, and then you have New Orleans with this sort of change in the guard at the quarterback position. Not many people talking about Carolina. Where do you come down on this team with a young coordinator in Joe Brady there, and then Sam Darnold looking to kind of rebound his career?
I think they could be okay, maybe make some noise in the NFC, and a lot of that's going to come down to whether Joe Brady is right, whether he actually does have something with Sam Darnold. Can he tap into the talent the way the Jets coaching staff just clearly couldn't? As you know, Evan, everybody is always excited and optimistic in the preseason. So I'm probably going to take a wait-and-see approach here, but Sam Darnold is talented. That's why he was picked in the draft where he was selected. And watching him against his former team in week 1 on CBS, that should be really interesting. And if he performs well there, then maybe that'll be an indication that he can elevate to what he was supposed to be coming out of college, at which point Carolina can maybe win 8 or 9 games, which would be something considering they only won 5 games last season.
I'm with you on a number of fronts there. I'm going to wait and see. I like Sam Darnold. I think there is some talent there, but I still think that Carolina's a few years away from being a real contender in that division and maybe a playoff team. Kansas City Chiefs also in action in the preseason, and we're going to see Patrick Mahomes. This is a treat, and the starters for most likely the first half. So it got me thinking, as we look ahead to this year, over under 40 touchdown passes for Mr. Mahomes.
I'm going to take the over with that, and it may go way over. You know Patrick Mahomes is motivated after losing in the Super Bowl last season, watching another quarterback win MVP. So I'm expecting a big year. He threw for 50 touchdowns in 2018, threw for 38 last season in only 15 games. So I'll split the difference and say Patrick Mahomes will throw for 44 touchdowns this season, which gets him over that total of 40.
I think I'm just zagging here, Gary. I don't know why. I never want to doubt Patrick Mahomes, but I've got him under 40. And you mentioned the last couple of years, one of those, a bit of a misnomer in the sense that he dealt with the knee injury, so the numbers were down. I'm sure he'll hover around that 40 number, but I'm going to go under just because I still think that it's going to be a challenge this year in a lot of ways as this offensive line finds itself. They want to have a bit of running game, but look, he's going to put up numbers. So maybe, again, I'm just trying to play the other side of the coin. The Indianapolis Colts, they're in action tonight in the preseason against the Lions. Carson Wentz won't play in this game, but all indications are that he, as well as all-pro guard Quentin Nelson, should be available week 1. So in that regard, take your pick that the Colts are a playoff team this season.
I'll say yes, the Colts will be in the AFC playoffs, but I don't feel great about it. And I realize that they won 11 games last season and got a wild card, but 9 of those 11 wins were against teams at or below 500. This season's schedule, at least on paper, seems more difficult. They're playing 7 teams that made the playoffs last season. And I know everybody is saying Carson Wentz looks really good, but it's totally fair to be skeptical of Carson Wentz given the track record. So again, I'll say yes, the Colts will make the playoffs, but I'm far from certain about it.
It's a great point. I think we'll know within the first 5 to 6 games of this season whether this is a playoff team. I'm going to say yes because I think you get 2 out of the AFC South with the Titans and the Colts. We saw that a year ago, and I think both teams are primed to do it again. And I believe in Frank Reich. I believe in the defense and what they're able to do to teams. And if Carson Wentz is just, let's say, middle of the pack in terms of quarterback play, there's a running game that can take this team to the postseason. I don't know about a deep run, but I think they get in. Who would you go with and take your pick of who's going to have more wins this season? The young Jets or the Eagles in turnaround?
I'll go with the Eagles. Listen, everything I've heard about and heard from Zach Wilson is super encouraging, but a rookie quarterback with the Jets winning more than 4 or 5 games seems unlikely. So I'll go with the Eagles, if only because I think they'll be a little less awful. To be clear, I'm not expecting much from either franchise, but I think the Jets will be a little worse. A clear last place team in the AFC East.
I take the Jets' future because I think this is actually going to be a good team in a couple of years. I believe in Robert Saleh. I like, as you pointed out, what we're hearing about Zach Wilson. They've got some talent. But I'm going with Eagles here strictly based off of the division. I still think the NFC East is going to be pretty ugly this year. So they'll be able to maybe pick up a couple more wins, while the AFC East is going to be a real challenge. That's a deep division with the Patriots, the Dolphins, obviously the Bills being playoff caliber team. College football getting started this weekend. So take your pick on a national champ.
I'd love to be unique, but I can't think of any good reasons to go with anybody other than Nick Saban in Alabama. Since Saban modernized that Alabama offense and started trying to outscore you, put 50 on you, they've just taken that thing to a new level. I'm not saying Alabama is unbeatable, but man, they sure do look it sometimes. They won their 2 college football playoff games last season by a combined 45 points. How about this? Miami is ranked 14th in the AP poll, and Alabama is an 18.5-point favorite over the Hurricanes in the season opener. That's how big of a gap there is between Alabama and another top 15 teams. So put me down for the Crimson Tide. I'm going to continue to ride with Nick Saban until somebody gives me a reason not to.
Maybe it's because we've been together for the last 4 days, but I feel like we're real simpatico right here because I'm going with Bama. It's largely based off of being uninformed at this point. I've been so tunnel vision on the NFL. My college football prep has kind of fallen by the wayside, but it seems to be a safe bet. I think the Bryce Young transition to quarterback there is a good one. Clemson was in my conversation as I was putting this together. But again, for all the reasons you laid out, Bama always a safe pick.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.